Folks, hello and welcome to Talking Crit. You can tell from the background I'm not in my usual New York studio with a virtual background. But hey, I enjoy freezing weather in the Poconos. To my screen right, my whatever. To my side, my usual cohort, my co-host, my partner in crime, and my once a week work spouse.
Yes.
And Mike Battalato.
Hello. Hey, check out these new headphones that I got. Thank you, Tavern people who donated money. I've got
you
some
didn't donate
wireless.
money. You'd actually just watch the show, and that therefore earned us money, and therefore
yes, thank you. This was you put us over 1,000 subscribers, so we got $2 a week or whatever it was, and then
$2 a day, maybe.
So I got this new fancy Bluetooth headphone that it didn't take me that long to figure it out. It took me a little bit, but I figured it out okay.
All right.
It looks like a football coach.
Yeah, I kind of like it. It's nice and comfortable, and it really covers my ears really well. I mean, they're noise canceling. That's awesome. I hope I sound okay. Of course, I have no idea what it sounds like.
You sound marvelous. I can't wait for you to hear this on a replay.
I'm gonna sing later. That's awesome. So that'd be great.
Oh my! All right. Well,
you do some karaoke.
Yes. So, yeah, I by the way, I do have the power to mute. Now below us, just how the screen share shook out, is none other than Luau Lou, who currently he has a Kickstarter for an NPC RPG adventure, which I linked here. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Don't even think that you're going to type all that in. But if you go Seekers of the Unknown on Kickstarter, you should be able to pull it up as a search event. And yes, Eddie, we want Lou. We want Lou. You're gonna.
What'd you get, Eddie? How'd you get Eddie to pimp for you there? What's going on here?
Oh, under table deals. I'm going to front his game.
Yeah, I need
podcast.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be a special guest at LongCon, so Eddie better come on, man. I want to see some love over here too. I need some freebies, baby. Let's get them coming.
Before we delve into tonight's deal, I want to go over a few things. Mike's been busting my balls to try a New York whiskey, and I was going to actually do a Pennsylvania whiskey, but I wound up finding at the Pennsylvania liquor store Hudson Whiskey New York, which is a bourbon, coming in at 46% alcohol, 92 proof.
Nice.
It's got hints of cinnamon and vanilla, and I haven't decided yet how much I like it. I have listen. I've been watching whiskey reviews and shows on YouTube,
right.
So I'm not an expert, but I've certainly been looking at them. And before we go any further, just so you all know, Saturday night, 8 p.m., my hair will be blue because you all raised over $1,000.
Yay! Luke's. Good job, folks. Good job.
And since we surpassed 1,200, I will also be walking the dog in those wonderful pants that you saw me in.
Great job.
And the blue hair. And then since we surpassed 1,500, since Angelia from TotalCon put us over the top, I will be going to my local Stop and Shop sometime, probably this coming week, with the blue hair. I think with the Taco Cats pants work, I'll need pockets. But when I go to Forest Park, I will actually announce it on Facebook. So if you happen to live in the New York City area, I will let you know when we plan on being there. And if you want to wallow in my embarrassment and
see, there's a trick here. If you go to the Village dressed like that, walk your dog, nobody will pay attention to you.
If I did that, I probably I'd be invited to like bars and dude,
Little Steeler.
Where'd you get those pants? Oh my God, those are awesome, dude! I like blue hair. So the Village I probably fit right in. Actually, you know what? Maybe anything in Manhattan south of 14th Street. That's probably the Village. it might be open game, but no, I'm going to be out in Queens sometime this week. Depends on the weather. It can't be too cold because my precious Turkish will freeze, and that won't be good because they aren't very warm, those pants.
No. Well, that's a good cause. I'm glad everybody contributed. I haven't even dropped any money on that. I think I'm gonna wait for 2,000 to come around because Angelia blew my plan to bust you over 1,500. And by the time I found my phone that day, she'd already bought it. So I might wait for 2,000 and drop a hundo on you or something. Then you're really. I don't know what we're gonna have to do for 2,000.
Listen, we might do something seasonally. I don't know. This was the response to this was again awesome. If I could raise 1,500 for St. Jude's a couple of times a year, and all it requires is to have no pride and no self-respect, I'm willing to donate that. That's a fair donation. I'm happy to do that. So
good for you.
So now we've taken care of the bookkeeping. I think we can now move on to other exciting stuff and enjoy the non-blue hair.
Well, we have this week we have Lou, and I met Lou last year at North Texas 2020. He was one of the very, very brave few that showed up out of town because we pretty much told everybody that year, if you're from out of town, don't come because of travel restrictions and COVID and blah blah. And then one day we're there, and I know everybody there. I see this guy's smiling face. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? I'm Lou. I came from out of town. I'm like, what? You came from the West Coast. I was like, what the hell? I mean, so yeah, he made a huge trip and took a leap of faith and during COVID to come to the con, which is awesome. And,
the story behind that is, I mean, there's so many people talking up North Texas, and I was in a situation where I was going to lose some frequent flyer miles that I had, and it's like, well, where I'm at, I'm actually in Indiana, and where I'm at, they're just COVID. I mean, we all knew about COVID, but it just wasn't having much of an impact at that point. So I was like, well, I don't want to lose these, and I've heard about this convention that everyone says is the best ever, and let's go check this out. Yeah, man, I was glad I did. I tend to come back as often as I can.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. No, that was great, and we saw you again this year, obviously too. And so, you came and you had. I mean, you're a very creative guy. You had a game called the Dare Luck Club. You were running, and everybody seemed to like that. You've got a lot of stuff going on here. So tell us about your latest Kickstarter here. You have a Kickstarter up right now that's going on, and I'm going to back it here while we're talking about it, so maybe I can. And
it's linked, by the way. The first comment on this live stream is a link to the Kickstarter. I am not in my normal abode. I don't have my secondary screen. I don't have my desktop. So I'm kind of doing this with one hand tied behind my back. But
I get a little share screen button. If I click on that, does that work? Can I throw things up?
You should.
Let's try this. Let's see if share video file, share screen. All right. Exciting world of okay. That's not what I want. All right. So this is the Kickstarter, folks. This is Seekers of the Unknown.
All right. So I didn't pop.
Can you guys see that?
No.
Didn't work.
No.
All right. Well, we can do it a different way. Let's see. We're back to here.
This is like me.
Oh wait. Oh, okay. Hold on. Select window.
This is like looking at me trying to put something up.
All right. Is that okay? Allow. Is that working now?
Yep.
All right.
There we go.
All right. So yeah, this is the Kickstarter here, folks. This is it's designed around the Mutant Crawl Classic system as far as the rules go. But honestly, I don't think it's quite exactly the style for the modules they've put out. It's more kind of back in the Gamma World old school kind of module where it's a sort of a dungeon crawl with some open sandbox features to it. I don't know if you see anything about it that might strike a slight memory of another game you've played. But I can neither confirm nor deny that it is similar to the B1 series from Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes. It seems to be an homage to the Search of the Unknown. You got a great kind of a homage to the Darlene cover of the second print there. It looks pretty cool. So yeah, I was obviously B1's my favorite module of all time. I've run it more than anything else. So I was immediately drawn to this one when I saw it because I was like, yes, anything B1 related, I'm absolutely in on. So this is great.
Yeah, so yeah, I'd love to talk with you a little bit about that here in a minute to just compare, what we've got going on in this module versus the original. But yeah, we tried to do a lot of homages in here. My artists, so this front cover here is Santiago Bora. He's an artist that's worked with me a lot with the Dare Luck Club. And I said, hey, do something like this, but have these kind of characters and, make it a modern type of art piece. And I think he just hit it out of the ballpark. And then on the back cover here, my friend Christopher Tupa, who's also worked with me since the very first days I ever started writing role-playing games. He did this really cool cover or back cover piece that I thought was, I kind of wanted to get something that kind of had like almost a Masters of the Universe sort of feel to it. And I think he just hit it out of the ballpark also. These guys are just super talented. So the idea is it's going to be old school. It's going to have the double covers. So this is the front cover here, and then it's going to have a map on the back here.
Nice.
That's the first level of the complex, and then another map on another cover, and then this last map I'm still working on. This is the stretch goal here. This is the overland map. It's going to be a hex crawl map, but I'm still in the process of getting it drawn out and everything. But let's see, how do I stop sharing? There we go.
So this fits into the post-apocalyptic role-playing. Is it? I mean, I know it's for Mutant Crawl Classics. Could you also do this for Gamma World, or I mean, is it hard to convert?
Other than the stats for the monsters and creatures and robots and whatnot, I mean, you could run it in whatever you want to. I mean, it's really it's an homage. So it's a similar situation. You've got this war bunker from one of the last turns of the civilization before it went into ruin, and this war bunker had these two guys that kind of ran it. There was this technology guy, this futurist, sort of like a Tony Stark character named Z Lagar, and then he was making tech for the resistance army, and the army was being led by this shogun warrior, this futuristic samurai guy by the name of Rogo Khan, and they were fighting this.
No relation to Zelagar and Rogon. Yeah, I got you.
What?
Yeah.
No,
I saw that. I saw that coming. Yeah.
So so these guys were fighting this war against these creatures that were coming from the Red Planet, and then one day mysteriously disappeared, and then the big cataclysm happens and buries their bunker. So the characters get involved. There's many different ways they can get involved, but the line that I'm kind of pushing forward out of the group of possibilities is that there's this robot that's been stealing creatures and people from their village, and it basically kidnaps their mother-in-law. And so the village chief's like, well, hey, she's your mother-in-law. You go rescue her. So they go out to find out, trace down where this robot's taking them, and find out what's going on.
Oh, nice.
So, and that robot's part of the complex. It's kind of been reawakened, doing what it was supposed to be doing before it all got shut down.
So like B1 Search the Unknown was a very famous beginning D&D adventure. Is this a beginning adventure also, or is this more experienced parties? Yeah,
so my first encounter with B1, and I'm not claiming that this is exactly like B1, but when I was a kid, my Aunt Ruby, God, she's just a wonderful gal. Thank you, Aunt Ruby. It was when I was first getting into gaming, and she got this big, like the kind of box they give you when you got to clean out the office, full of D&D and other role-playing stuff, because she'd heard I was just getting into role-playing. And she's like, hey, this guy I knew was getting rid of this. Here, have it. And it had B1 in it, and I opened it up, and I'm like, there's nothing in here. There's no monsters in these rooms. There's just a blank to fill in. I don't need homework.
A blank canvas to a large extent.
Yeah.
And I just did not have respect for it at that point. And then, decade later, I started to understand, okay, this is, training me how to do a legitimate dungeon that has actual rooms in it. And that's one of the things that I really, really enjoy in writing and in seeing other people's writing is like a dungeon ecology where things make sense and there's little clues here as to something you're going to encounter over there. So I decided not to make it an open slate like that. but it is sort of a beginner's module in that it, the encounters are pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of really tricky monsters or robots or things to run. They're all pretty simplistic in how a D&D judge, I guess they call it, would run it. But it has some jump off points where as a game master, you could say, oh, I could go on a whole different adventure, from this route or that route. It's got a lot of nice places to add your own story.
Uh-huh. Well, good deal. I'm glad you finally showed a little respect for the B1. I know a lot of people that, I came from the time when AD&D came out that it was like, oh, basic D&D, that's for kids. AD&D's where it's at now.
Man. Come on.
But I was lucky enough that one of the first things I bought was the Holmes box set. And hold on a second. Hello. Oh, there it is. The Holmes box set and B1. I had the older version with B1 in it. And so that was really the first thing I ever played was a friend of mine who knew how to play D&D ran us through B1. He did a really bad job. So I said, I think I can do better. So I got the module from him and I went ahead and I was the DM after that because I did a good job. But it was fun. I had so much fun with it. It was a blast. So I'll always look at B1 with this great nostalgia, because it was just the first adventure I ever went through and also the first one I ever ran. And I think Mike Carr did a great job on it. There's some stuff in there that's kind of weird, but it's a great introductory adventure. And there's just not a lot nowadays. It just hits me the same way when I read that description of it. It just sounds so mysterious and cool, and just the room descriptions are great. I mean, everything about it's great. So that's yes. A good one to base your Mutant Crawl. I've never seen a post-apocalyptic version, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of a thing I'm doing. I'm calling it the Classics Mutated, and I'm gonna try not to just stick with products from that company, whatever company I might be referring to. But I want to try to get in some other really popular adventures, and like for instance, there's an adventure that takes place on a train that's really famous, dealing with elder gods. And I'm really scratching my brain because someday, it's not going to be my next one, but someday I want to think of a way to make that an MCC or Gamma World type adventure. And I think I got an idea that's working, but I'm still down the road there.
That's
so I got to ask you, because you ran it. I mean, everyone's B1 is a different B1, right? In your mind, what happened to the two? What happened to Zelgar and Rogan?
So you have to give me a minute here, so I did something several years ago, and what I did was I have about 7 different versions of B1, and when I run to conventions, I ask them, I just let them choose at the time. Okay, which version do you want me to run? I give them a title and a basic, one sentence kind of theme. And so what I do is every version has a different main foe. Every version has a different interior, different monsters, different treasures. And every version has a different thing about what happened to Rogan and Zelagar, which you can actually find out, by the way, instead of the original module where you kind of know what happened, but not really. So all my versions have a different version of what happened to them. And I usually what happens is Zelagar was evil. We lost Lou. Lou, no, say it ain't so.
Come back, Lou.
Welcome back, Lou.
Welcome back. Actually, Mike offered to sing.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
That's all right.
Wrong button. So your version.
Yeah. So anyway, I have 7 different versions. They're all like, for example,
calling this fucking house.
One is one's like a. So, and they all have a different setup too. They all have a different 1 or 2 page paragraph setup about how you get there. Because when I run B1, you start the game, you're in the town for 15 minutes. You can pick up stuff, but after 15 minutes, boom, you're on the entrance to the dungeon. You're walking in. I don't like to spend a lot of setup time there. Just enough for the players to spend some money and get some stuff. They all start out at 2nd level. They're brand new 2nd level characters. They've all gone through adventure before, so they're all 2nd level. So they're a little more able to survive in there. But yeah, I have different themes, and usually Zelagar worships evil gods, and you find a on the second level, in one of the empty rooms there, you find a altar to his evil gods, and some cases he's sacrificed Rogan. Some he's done he's done some bad things, and there's usually a different undead in the room. I think one time it's a mummy. Sometimes it's Zelagar, and he's undead. He's like a vampire or a white or a ghast or something like that. So I have all kinds of different versions, but I have different themes. Like one theme is you go in there and it's a half orc bandit and his orc bandit horde inhabit. And so some of the rooms you go in, there's orc bandit, especially on the lower level. There'll be a bunch of them, but I still keep the basic tenets of the module, that there's all kinds of crazy stuff in there that Rogan and Zelagar left behind, but there is a main foe in there. Another one, there's a group of kobolds. They're all blind albinos, and the dungeon's been shut down for years, and an earthquake opens it up again. So all these kobolds are running there breeding, and they're all blind albinos, and they can hear you, and it doesn't matter if so you have light scares them. So that's one theme. Another one, it's nothing is alive in there because it was shut down years ago. So all that are in there are like oozes and molds and fungus and black puddings and different statues and stuff. There's nothing actually alive in there.
There's a lot of foes you got to be worried about in D&D, but none are worse than the oozes, slimes, and jellies, because those things are like save versus die almost all the time.
Well, it also teaches you one of the lessons that you should learn when you start off an early module is that you need to run sometimes. If you see a black pudding rolling towards you in your second level, get the hell out of there. You're not going to be able to do anything except get, disintegrated. So I have a lot of stuff like that there. I have some foes that are basically too tough for the party to defeat. I always do something really cool with the room of pools, which is one of my favorite rooms in probably any D&D module ever published. The room of pools is absolutely awesome and great. Yeah.
I don't know if I can get it in the shot or not. Yeah. Where's that? There it is. Nope, man. This camera's a little tricky. Right there. I don't know. You can't see it, but it's. Yeah. I tried to ask myself when I was designing it, is like, what are the touchstones? And room of pools, that's got to be in there, right? The library, I got to have something like that.
The fungus
the mushroom forest.
Room,
yep.
Yeah.
There's some
really good touchstone points in there, and so I just do a different theme, and so I run it every year at North Texas, and I started running it because I was surprised the number of people who had never been through it. Because I always talk to what modules would you like to run through? Oh, I've never been through B1. I'd love to do B1. Most people have done B2. There's some modules that everybody's done, but for some reason, people just always would say, "Yeah, I've never done B1." And so I just started running it so people would get the experience of actually running it. And so I ran it every year except for the last two due to COVID and some other issues. I was a little burnt out on it too, so I didn't do the last couple. But my favorite gaming moment ever is I've run Errol Otis through it not once but twice. He's a great dude. He loves B1 too. He loves it, and so he has played twice in my He's a great he is a great player. He's the kind of player that waits till everybody chooses their character, because what I did was I took characters from the actual back of the module, because there's all these sample characters back there. And some are really terrible. Yeah, some are terrible also. And so I made sheets of about 20 different sheets for all different characters. I used the same old green character sheets that came out like the late 70s. I print those out on green paper so they look really authentic. And I just put all the characters out there, choose whatever you want. And Errol's the cool guy that always waits till everybody chooses a character and then he sees what we need. And he doesn't mind playing a cleric. I'll play a cleric, and that way I can cure people. So he's awesome. He doesn't require himself to take the I'm the hero. I'm Errol Otis. I'm going to take the best character here. So no, he does not do that. So that's a high point, is actually running Errol through there a couple of times. But I have all kinds of different and some of this you can't find out because you're only doing this one night. If you don't go to the right rooms, you don't really find the clues about what might have happened to Zelagar, Rogan, or and I included a lot of little different hints in there about what happened. Like one of them, you find that Rogan had a son with the chick. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and the son got bit by Yep, he got bit by a were-rat in the lower level, and he became a were-rat. He's lived there for like the last 50 years, and he's on the lower level, and so he's hanging out still. And I mean, it's just no version's the same. They're totally different. I've had people play, in two. I think Glenn has played the 3 or 4 times. So has Liz Stewart.
Glenn's addicted to it. Yeah.
Oh, Glenn loves it.
I've never played in it with you, and I've never played.
Oh, you need to, man. And
you've never played it?
No, I never played. I was an AD&D guy. Listen, basic D&D was for babies.
I know.
I didn't.
Same thing.
I was with you. I mean, me and my friends was kind of the same thing. That why do basic when you can do advanced? Right. But we always stole the modules for some reason. All the D&D modules were fair game, but man, if you showed up with the red box, it was like,
I didn't get B2 until I got my red box at a remainder store. It had this huge pile of Dungeons and Dragons red boxes for $3 with a notch cut out of it. I went, and that's how I got my B2.
Great. It's a great module. It helps. So the famous thing about the module are there are no treasures and no monsters. You fill them in yourself. So no 2 runnings of it are ever the same. Mm-hmm. But it has some extremely evocative rooms, and like I said, room of pools, the fungus room, whatever. There's just, and of course, the dungeon makes no sense at all because it's just basically there to show you different things that could be in a dungeon. So for somebody that's just learning how to play, it shows you like, here's a little maze, here's a teleport, this, that. But there's no way these 2 guys would have built this thing. It doesn't make any sense.
And that was part of the challenge, is because, like I said, man, I'm all about the dungeon ecology. And there's that whole left side of the map that's just craziness. Like you said, they're like making these weird passages that come in on themselves. It's like, well, why would they do that? Why would this, war bunker, why would it have something like that in it? But I kind of came up with a solution for that. We've got like a holodeck. And so when you go into holodeck, there's a maze setting on there that you can go through, and some other things that kind of clip in some of that really wild stuff.
I thought I had my copy of the Goodman Games reprint over there. I was going to pull it out, but Goodman Games, they did a great reprint a few years ago as part of their classic module series, and they have the original in there, plus they have a 5e version, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I'll probably start running it again this year. I've taken 2 years off now. Time to get back to business and get some people there who have never been through B1 to go through it. But so yeah, anything having to do with B1, I am a huge fan of, because I just think it's a really special module. TSR never really did anything like it. They kind of sort of tried with B3. They had like fill in the blank monsters and treasures, but B3 is a weird module because it was supposed to be something different. It got for those that know the story about it, the original version was yanked and they redid it, and so Gamble
That's
World,
the Palace of the Silver Princess we're talking about, right?
Palace of the Princess. And then the first Gamble World module, they tried to do the same thing where, hey, we're not going to put treasures or monsters in there. So they kind of tried to use the same theme a couple times, but just never worked as good as it did in B1 Search the Unknown. And so
I mean, if you're buying a module, you don't, you're buying it because, man, I need a game tonight,
Right. You don't want to have to do the work because that's why you bought something. But B1, as Mike has pointed out, actually both have said, B1 was there to teach you how to create your own adventure. And as such, having these open areas is part of it. But doing it in later releases is kind of like laziness. Like, well, here's where you can make it your own. No, if I want to make it my own, I'll cross shit out. Make something I can use. And then we'll go from there.
It was a different time and a different kind of adventure. It was. I just have a lot of nostalgia for it. I've run it, gosh, probably at least 100 times. I mean, I've run it more than I have any other module ever. And like I said, that's why I create the different versions for it, to keep myself interested and to keep my creative juices going, because some of the different versions are kind of mysterious. So there's one version where you're bounty hunting. There's a caravan of bad guys is being taken to the Capitol prison, and the wagons get attacked by a boule, and they're broken open, and all the evil guys run into Quazcatan. So you got to go in there, and while you're investigating Quazcatan, which is the B1 dungeon, you got to find these guys that have a bounty out. And there's some high level guys that you got to try to team up and kill. So I just made just the craziest, just different things I could. There's one version where you get trapped inside, and you have to go through the back entrance to get out. You can't go through the front entrance anymore. And Yeah, it's
Did
just
you
that
make
kind
the
of
first alcoves? Maybe that's in the module, but the first alcoves, did you make them a squishing wall kind of thing? Is that how they get trapped?
No, I never did that.
Okay, that's how I always ran that game, and so I did that in
Man,
this one where
damn, dude, you're a mean. No, this is for first level people. Come on, man, that's
they
ugly.
get a dex check. I mean, come on, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much I love that module, and I got to meet Mike Carr a few years ago, and I got to tell him about my love for the adventure, and I fanboy gushed all of them and said, hey, I just want to let you know that I run it every year in North Texas, and I have like 5 or 7 different versions. I told myself, and I keep thinking he's going to tell me, yeah, that's great, man. But he was the nicest guy. He goes, really? I am very interested in what you did. Explain to me what you did. What?
Tell you a gamer story?
He was
Really?
probably just being nice. He was probably just being nice. But
all
that
those
was
old
the
dudes
coolest
are,
thing
man.
ever. And I was
That's the one thing I learned at North Texas. All those old guys are. They're amazing.
Mike Carr wanted to explain to me, wanted me to explain to him what I did with his classic module, which that was awesome. And yeah, Mike Carr was a cool dude. We should get him North Texas. He does not travel that much, unfortunately. So anyway, that's
I agree with you, man. N4 is great for a training module. That's another gem of the.
Yeah,
well,
N4
did good in different ways. N4 is we're going to teach you how to play the game, not so much in the read along, but it's going to you're going to learn the different aspects as certain steps. You're going to learn it's set up as a learning experience, whereas B1 is set up to teach you to write adventures, and you're going to learn how to play D&D by playing with others.
No. N4 kind of teaches both sides of the table too. It kind of helps the players figure it out and the game master.
Hello, Ty, our unofficial lawyer is here. No, N4 is called Treasure Hunt, and it's by Aaron Alston, who passed away years ago. The great Aaron Alston, very talented designer. But basically, the premise of N4 is you don't know what your character is yet. You roll up a 0-level character, which is a really cool concept. First grade, I think, by
it's like a funnel before the funnels, almost.
It's a funnel,
pretty much.
It was a 1984 funnel, and you decide, and by what you do in the module, the DM says, here's what you are. Like if you find a book of spells, and so if you decide my character's going to grab that book and start learning it, you're a mage, or if you're pick up a sword, you're going to start swinging it, or if you're a thief and start picking locks. Whatever you decide you want to do, the DM eventually tells you that's what you are, and you become a first level character at the end of the module. It's actually got a pretty interesting, fun little plot. It's a little cliche. You get shipwrecked on an island, blah blah blah. But it's I've run that several times too. I really enjoy N4 too. It's very, very good. It's a very well written module. They didn't have anything else like that, and they never did anything like that ever again. But yeah, that's another good old school module. Yeah, Aaron Alston was really great. We were Ty, as a matter of fact, the year before he died, Doug and I were going to ask him to come to North Texas because he was a local guy, he was a Texas guy.
Really?
And we were going to ask him to come to North Texas, so that was a huge loss because I bet he had stories because he's worked on every aspect of TSR. The time he worked there for quite a long time. So, but yeah, anything Aaron Alston's written is pretty good, pretty darn good. So enough about my. I can talk about my.
I think I got one more question for you though.
All right, go ahead.
So, one of the features of that game that I had to scratch my head about for a little while was the stone, the magic plinth or whatever that's there. Has anyone ever in any of the games you've ran tried to eat the stone? Because that's how you activate it, is you eat a piece of it.
Yeah. Yes, and they have because they played it before. It's metagame. It's absolute metagaming because you're right. Well, why would you think to chip a piece of stone off and put it in your mouth unless you metagame the hell out of it? So I have had metagamers, and since they know it's a one-shot game, they're like, screw it, man. We're all going to put a piece of this stand of rock in our mouth. Yeah, let's see what happens if we gain a level, or do we grow an arm, or all the crazy stuff that would happen to you. So yes, they have done it because they're cheating basically. They're metagaming. Come
on,
they're metagaming. Yes. I mean, it's hard to avoid. Look, this module's been out 40 years. It's hard to avoid spoilers. Right?
Oh, you're not gonna. There's no spoilers left. Come on,
No,
you can't.
not with
you can't
D&D.
do that.
No.
That's like saying we're gonna talk about the movie Alien and give no spoilers.
Okay,
Really?
so here's my alien story. I have an alien story. So one of my best friends growing up, Joe Kiliansky, Dr. Joe, he taught me how to play D&D, introduced me to the game. Good friend of mine back in the day. The Alien movie came out. I was supposed to go see it with him. And my parents said, no, it's rated R and you're 16. I was like, I think I just turned 16. So I had to get in a big argument with my parents, and I was a dick, so they wouldn't let me go. So after the movie, Joe comes to the house. He goes, "Oh man, it was such a great movie." I said, "Well, don't tell me anything about the movie because I want to go see it. So don't tell me anything about the movie, but just was it a good movie?" Yeah, it was. And he proceeds to tell me the entire final scene with Sigourney Weaver and how she killed the alien. After I specifically told him, "Do not spoil the movie for me." I'm just gonna tell you this one part. There's just one part. Okay, she's in the thing, and she kicks it out, and then she turns the engine. I was like, "You got to be fucking kidding me!" Besides that, I love the guy. I still love the guy, but yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So the funny part is, I never saw it in the theater after that because I was like, "Well, screw it." And I finally saw it in the theater a few years ago. They had a revival showing in the local movie theater, and man, it was incredible. I'd never seen it on the big screen before, but the soundtrack, that movie's that's just a great movie. Great movie.
It's a classic.
If you've never seen it on the big screen, I would say if there's ever a revival anywhere, definitely see it. It is a totally different experience on the big screen than it is on the small screen.
Just the depth of the hallways they're going through on the big screen, and the way the alien blends in more into the environment.
Oh, it's scaring the shit out of me. Yeah, on the TV screen, there's very little that can scare me, or that I have horror movies really don't do anything to me when it's on a little TV screen or living room. But man, seeing that thing at the theater, holy shit! My wife had never seen the movie before ever. She'd never seen the movie. It's about 5 years ago, I think we saw it, and she was like, grabbed my arm, like, "God, honey, stop it!" Cut off my circulation. She's like, I can't stand. I can't look. So she's hiding her thing. And she knew Sigourney Weaver lived because she saw Aliens. So she's still going to watch it. She's like,
don't mean to ruin it, but yeah, she does survive. She's the one. Now, Ty brings up Alston had a lot to do with Steve Jackson games in the early 80s as well. Mm-hmm. Didn't he actually write Tune?
That's in the other room.
I do not remember.
If he didn't write Tune, he definitely wrote some supplements.
But he was a figure in the Space Gamer. Yes, I think he did. He did articles. I don't know if he did the reviews. He may have done the reviews in Space Gamer. I'm not sure. I've got a complete set of Space Gamer somewhere. But yes, yeah, he did a lot of stuff back then, and he was just. And apparently, from everybody I've talked to since then, he's a really great guy. Everybody loved the guy, and he died. Unfortunately, he died unexpectedly of a heart attack, and he was kind of in little poor health, but not really that poor health that he died unexpectedly of a heart attack. So once again, we do, you never know, right? I mean, you got to take care of yourself. So that sucked. But yeah, we were going to ask him to come to North Texas because he was a local guy, and we just. Once we started researching, we're like, "Whoa, this guy's done everything." I've been seeing his name on stuff since I was a kid, right? I'm like, "Wow, this guy's he's done it all." And so, yeah, that's a great loss. So those guys we never got to really see, like Aaron, that sucks, And obviously, Dave Sutherland was taken a little too soon. I'd have loved to have Dave at the convention. That would have been awesome, There's a few guys like that just, Gary. I mean, Gary himself. I think we could have got Gary at North Texas. I really do. I think we could have easily got Gary at North Texas. So. Yeah, it's kind of sucks. Those guys are just, they're getting older. What can you say? That's when
a lot of them. I mean, they never even got to see the OSR come about and know that that people appreciated what they did and remember it and all that. That's another just sad fact.
One of the things I kind of was bummed out about, Lou, when you came to our first con 2020 is we didn't have any special guests earlier that year because of COVID, and I wanted you to come back so bad. It's like, man, you got to see this thing when it's full. And so you were here this year. What did you think this year? Because you got there this year.
Oh, yeah, I mean, shit. Spending an hour in the bar with Alan Hammock and talking with Michael Hunt and hanging out with the Stewarts after the con and. I mean, it's just a whole nother world, and everyone's just a person. They don't act like a celebrity. They don't act like it's a big deal. Great.
Most of the guys, they will not big time you. That's one of the things that Doug and I had always said about the con is that we tell everybody be very accessible. You know, we've had a couple of guests through the years that weren't that accessible, and we had to basically say, no, that's not what we're about. You know, you don't have a special green room you get to go off to, or whatever. You have to interact with people. That's why we say
just red M&Ms, damn it.
Well, we let them know that you only have to run 2 games. You can run more, but you only required to run 2 games because a lot of these cons, they have these guys running games morning, night, every day because they're going to get their money's worth, right? We never said that. We're like, no.
Did you see Tim Kask's schedule there at GameWorldCon?
Yes.
Oh man, I don't know how he did that, man. I was running 2 games a day, and I was out at the end of the night, and he's like putting 5 of them in a day, man.
Yeah,
and in his shape, I mean,
really,
with his health problems and all that, I don't know how he does it, man. He's a trooper.
He's one of those guys just likes running games, and he can run games in his sleep at this point, too.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he probably does run them in his sleep. I don't know. He may be running them in his sleep. I'm not sure. So, anyway, so thanks, Lou, for the advertisement for North Texas right there. So yes, this year if you go to North Texas, I'm going to be running B1 in Search of the Unknown again, probably my usual time, Thursday night. It was weird this year having Thursday night off because I didn't run a game this year. It was very bizarre not running, but we had the whiskey tasting. We Thursday
did.
Night, that was Thursday night. So I might have to miss a whiskey tasting if I do run a game this year.
We'll adjust the whiskey tasting, man. We'll adjust.
All right.
And maybe they're not mutually exclusive, right? I mean,
no, they're not mutually exclusive. And the whiskey tasting was a huge.
You roll a 20. I say I'd sample some whiskey.
Well, we actually had like 8 people sampling different whiskeys and then rating them and making guesses as to what was what. It was actually a lot of fun.
It was fun. We had a good time. I may have drank too much whiskey. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Whoa,
yes,
no.
It was there was too much whiskey at the table. I know you're never supposed to say those words, but I'm just going to say it. There might have been too much whiskey at the table.
I mean,
yeah, that was fun.
Chris Dodge was bar and had more whiskey after the whiskey tasting. So I mean that.
Chris Dodgel was a trooper. He put that together. He did a great job. Chris, he had these little test tubes that were labeled 1 through 6, and so you actually smelled it and you had to taste them, and it was pretty. He did a really good job.
Impressions. It was good, and Ty was part of our whiskey tasting.
Oh, it was. Ty was there. Yeah. Jason Braun. There was quite a few people, celebrities there. Celebrities, I say. At the whiskey
in our
tasting
community, there celebrities.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that was fun. We had a really, really good time with that. So, if I run B1 this year, I'll have to figure out some way to work. What do the workaround? So, too much whiskey is like too skinny or too rich.
And look who pops in when we talk about
the whiskey, the devil,
the whiskey man right there. I'm looking at his my backpack filled with little bottles of booze he left behind that Eric and I are gonna have to do something with around Christmas time. So. Or maybe Thanksgiving. I don't know. We'll do something. I might have to bring some of those to South Padre with me, and so we can do a drinking game where I get to reach in the bag and have to drink whatever I pull out. There's some bad stuff in there.
Wasn't there? You had something that you couldn't stomach. It was last year in one of the podcasts.
A couple of years ago. It was the Fruit Loops inspired.
My comment on that was it tastes like Fruit Loops soaked in battery acid. Seriously. See, like I just pulled a couple out here. We got some mango whiskey.
That might be nice.
Sky pineapple infused vodka, and Sweet Heat, which is I don't really know what this is, but try it someday. Anyway, I got a whole bag full that Chris dropped off, so we'll do something fun this year with that. I'll make myself have to pull out a bottle and drink right around Christmas or something. Maybe we'll do it for charity.
Charity again raised over. I think it's like 15, I think we're at 1530 now. Raised for St. Jude. So. You're going to inspire us to think of other ways that we can.
So Chris says that the 6 vials for 14 milliliters each. The traditional shot that is a mini is 50 milliliters. So 4 is so basically we didn't even have 2 shots, but that was just enough. I think that was good enough that you could actually taste it and form an opinion on it. And we're pretty good. And we were really good about picking the cheapest whiskey. Sadly, Ty and I are used to drinking crappy whiskey, we immediately picked out. We're like, oh, this is the worst one right here. We knew it immediately, which shows you our Ty and ours drinking skills there. We drink a lot of cheap whiskey back in the day, so we're like, oh, yep, worst whiskey, and it was the cheapo bad stuff. Johnny Walker Red or whatever that was. But no, there was Chris did a good job mixing in some mid-price whiskeys, and it was tough to tell what they were. It was a tough one.
No, and it was good. And he even had his own concoction there, which was interesting.
Yes. So Lou, so one of the things, so you're doing this Kickstarter, but one of the games you run that I really think is really interesting, and I've never played it yet, is a game called the Dare Luck Club. Explain that RPG to us, because that one seems to be, people love that game. Whenever they play it with you, they just rave about it and say how great it is. So
yeah, so the Dare Luck Club. So the upshot is it's like Goonies. Okay, I'm trying to capture that moment in adolescence where you're almost into your teenage driving years. So you're kind of punkish. You're kind of got a little more bravado than is healthy for you. And the setting is basically a 70s or 80s era setting, but you could do it in whatever era you want. It's just I give some reasons in the book why those are the prime years to use. I mean, you don't have the cell phones, you don't have some of the social media stuff that kind of F's up adventures that you try to run. And basically you're just out, always faced with these crazy going-ons that no adult will believe that's happening. So you got like alien invasions you could be dealing with, or the mob might be doing something in town, or you could do the whole Monster Squad thing with Dracula or Frankenstein or whatever. And a lot of people look at it kind of keep a distance. They're like, yeah, that seems a little kiddish or whatever. But once people play it, I mean, it really is a wild ride as an adult to kind of go back and kind of fictitiously relive those moments and have that kind of banter as a kid, and be a little young, ill-spent youth sort of punk doing these things. So it's a simple system. It's a die pool kind of mechanic, and really, it's my goal in that particular game system was to try to boil down things to as simple as it can be without it losing the feeling of choice and playability and expansion. So there's everything runs off your attributes. There's not like skills and things like that. There are some what's called mischief and niftiness in the game, which is kind of like your limitations and your the feats, I guess, kind of like that. But they're pretty simplistic. They're not, it's not like the third edition where everything links together and forms this complex, chain of decisions you got to make. And it plays fast. It plays very cinematic. The adventures we have out for it right now, I've got the main rule book there has an adventure in it where you're dealing with the mob. The kids have to return a library book that they think they owe like $1,000 on. So it starts off with the premise that you have to break into the library to shelf the book so nobody knows it was late, because on Monday your class is going to the library as part of public school or public library day. And it turns out the library is already broken into, and there's some mobsters up in the archives taking photos. And you're like, well, what are mobsters doing in our town? Because this kind of takes place in a little Midwestern town. And it all spirals into this whole thing where the kids can uncover this big bank heist that's going to go down, and nobody will believe them, and they got to foil it themselves. And then we got 2 adventure anthologies out. There's Haunt House, which my friend Christopher Tupa, my artist friend, who I thought was on here earlier, I don't know if he's still on, but he's been doing the covers on these for me. And if you need an art guy, he's the art guy, man. He's fast and good and has a wide range of talent that he, different styles he can do things in. But he helped me out with the covers on these. I really like how they came out. But this one's all, they're called Triple Dog Dares. And what I've done is as a small publisher, you gotta stretch your nickels and dimes. Right. So I do one map for an adventure, and then I set 3 different games on that one map. So you could play this game here, like in Haunt House. There's one where it really is a haunted house, and the kids are there to find this legendary treasure that's supposed to be hidden there from the old guy that was, going all hermity and everything. Then there's one where a kid goes missing, and they think he's in the house, and there's this whole kind of Lost Boys gang of teenagers, older teenagers doing some stuff. And then there's one where the new girl in town moves into the house and everybody knows it's haunted and they're trying to convince her and help her when things go sideways. So by doing that, the maps are so time consuming compared to writing. And for most people that would have to pay for a map, they're the most expensive part art wise for most people anyhow. So it maximizes the use of that. And so I've got that one. And then the other ones, this one actually debuted at North Texas. So this is Mayhem Museum, and it's the map's a museum map, and then there's 3 different stories that go with it. One of them's zombies breaking into the museum because of a space asteroid or meteorite. It's kind of like the Night of the Living Dead. It's calling the dead back to life.
Yep, happens all the time
for sure. One of them's your basic night at the museum. The exhibits come to life kind of thing. And then the last one was probably the hardest one to write, and it's a heist where the kids there's this orphanage that through a backstory lost this very valuable piece of art, and that's now at the museum. And the orphanage is going bankrupt, and they have to have basically the kids come up with the idea that if they could get the art back and sell it on the black market, and there's a guy they meet that kind of puts this idea in their head, they could save the orphanage. So then they got to break into the museum and steal the art piece. And I think I did it right because those heist ones are always very hard to do because a clever player, can bust that out real easy. And then even convincing them to do that, especially if they're supposed to be the good guys, why steal from the museum? But I think I got things fit in there. I tried to do a lot of reading on psychology and use actual psychology for fitting up, what would make a player want to do this and how it would go down. So.
Yeah, I like one of the things I like about it is that you have these character templates that are basically just cliches from every 80s teen movie, and that makes playing it easy. If you've never played before, you're just like, oh, I want to play the dude from 16 Candles or whatever. Oh, he's there. I mean, all the cliched characters are there, so it makes it very easy for you to role play it. You're this guy, like you said, the Lost Boys. You're this guy. You're Corey Haim and Corey Feldman from the Lost Boys because all those character types are in there. So I thought makes it really easy for somebody who maybe hasn't role played very much or maybe even at all to play in a game because you're saying, look, you're just your characters from your favorite 80s movie, your 80s.
And that's the thing. I mean, D&D is great. I mean, we all got that fantasy background. We know, conceptually what an elf or gnome or dwarf is or whatever. But this is a game that everyone has a touchstone to. And I get a lot of couples playing it who's, the wife, typically the wife, I'm not being sexist here, typically the wife has never role played, but she's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. And it always works out. And everybody has a good time. And it just, everybody's got some sort of, tangent to this that they feel at home playing it and recognize the tropes.
Well, because most of the women that play role-playing games are smarter than us.
Well,
don't tell my wife. Yes,
I don't think that's truth, but here's the thing too. If you're going to introduce somebody who is not a gamer to gaming, especially in a convention setting, I strongly suggest that you pick a game that most players at the table are not going to be familiar with. Everybody is starting. Mm-hmm. Listen, you equal footing. The first game you're going to have your spouse play is Dungeons and Dragons. Everybody at the table has been playing for the last 10 years. Yeah. They're going to feel stupid. Not because your players want to make them feel stupid, because they have knowledge and your spouse or your significant other or your family member will not. So with Rach, when our first North Texas, her first RPG session was run by Tim Snyder, and he was running Time Master. And I chose Time Master.
The great Tim Snyder, yes.
Because I said, you know what?
He's got a Kickstarter coming out soon. Sorry, didn't mean that.
No, I'm gonna have to look for that. But I was like, you know what? Tim, Goblinoid Games. I know they had the license. He was involved with that. Tim will know the rule set. He's running it. I used to run Time Master back in the late 80s, early 90s. I'm a bit familiar with it. And I go, but I doubt anybody at the table is really familiar with the system. And guess what? Aside from Tim and myself, nobody was. So Rach went in And she wasn't like, like, oh, everybody knows and I don't. No.
Mhm.
It was like, tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you what you got to roll. And it was very relaxing. And then I moved her on to playing, I guess it was Labyrinth Lord with Zach Laser, and playing with Doug Kovacs, DCC, and Swords of Wizardry with Matt. I mean, but her first game had to be something where I figured she'd step into it and feel that, all right, I might not have the knowledge, but most people here don't have the knowledge. And I think with the Dare Luck Club, you're not only are people going to be like, oh, I've never played this system, but you're giving them a touchstone, like we mentioned, where they can feel familiar with the concepts, even if they don't know the system. And that's a perfect combination, especially at a convention. Great way to introduce somebody.
Matt's commenting on the background here that some of the maps, all the maps for the Dare Luck Club stuff, they're all free off of Drive-Thru Media there, or Drive-Thru RPG. You can go on there, and I've got them all in color, because being a little publisher, all my books are black and white other than the main rule book, so it doesn't do a map justice to being black and white. So I wanted to get them out there so people can print them how big they want and do what they want. But I do pride myself in the maps. That's one of the things I personally do for my games. I'm not very good at art, but the maps I can handle. The one back here is the next trilogy in the game here, and it's not. This is like a 10th done, but the next one's a theme park. So I'm starting to work on some of the rides, and
lots of good
water
things
park
happen
part there,
especially after hours. All kinds of stuff happens.
One of the best ones. I don't know if I can get it in the camera. I'm so camera ignorant here. Right there, the Satanic Panic. It's a little dark house roller coaster ride that was featured in one of the main stories in that one.
Nice.
But
yeah, so that's why another game that's really popular at conventions is Call of Cthulhu, because you sit somebody down, you say it's all percentages, so the higher percentage, you're better. And here's your characters, and you're in 1940s Russia, and boom, there you go. And you're like, oh, this is cool, I can do this. And that's, like I said, the Dare Luck Clubs will, it helps that it just taps this certain era. And this, like I said, we're all that certain age. We've probably watched, 80s teen movies, or if you're not, you've seen them on TV, and you can pretty much get it. But it's not just because of the 80s, just because it's a universal theme, right? It's kids having fun. It's like the Kids on Bicycles. That's a great game. And those recent games that come out in the last few years about we're going to play a bunch of kids getting into trouble, and a lot of it was because of Stranger Things. Obviously, Stranger Things was a huge boost to those kind of games, because everyone's like, wow, that looks like fun. Those kids are, they're getting chased by a monster, but it looks like they're having a great time. So let's basically play Stranger Things. So, which you could, Dare Luck Club, you could play.
Yep.
You could play Stranger
hit that
Things.
kind of theme. You can do like you could take it really dark. You could do like Stephen King's It. You could go the other way. You can do Scooby-Doo type stuff with it. I tried to, and this is maybe a fault. You second guess yourself. People say, well, you can't have it be all things to all people. And, there's some days I'm like, I left it too wide open. I really should have picked a road and stayed on that, in that lane. But on the other hand, it's nice that you get it, and there's different art in it. There's art that's a little more cartoony and art that's a little more serious. And you can kind of decide, now I want to kind of do this sort of thing with it. But yeah, it's, it's surprising when you sit down and think about it, how much there is in that genre. And I've got a whole Appendix M in there that goes over all different books and movies and stuff. But there really is quite a bit in the whole adolescence out on adventure sort of genre that you can do.
I think you found your corner of the universe. Really, really cool, man.
Thank you.
Now I gotta pick a copy up for myself. God damn it! Because it's something that I think my niece, she might not eat. She's gonna be 11. But I think that there's enough structure to that game. I tried running the Monty Cook Take That Evil.
No, Thank You Evil. Or whatever.
Thank You Evil, yeah. And she was like, it didn't happen. She's enamored with the whole idea of Dungeons and Dragons. I wrote Swords and Wizardry Light for her. But she was 5, and she told me I wrote it for her because I could teach her to read 4 pages. So she's enamored the whole idea of gaming, and something like that really sounds like it would be spot on with her mindset. So
well, it's definitely. I mean, there's a lot of games like this. You guys mentioned Kids on Bikes, and then there's the Tales of the Loop, and there's games like this out there. It's not a new genre. When I was starting to write it, they weren't out there, so I didn't have knowledge of that. But the thing I think this does different is it is more of like a traditional role playing game where the game master's got the plot and it's not like a story game where it's like that whole shared narrative kind of thing.
right.
And I think that makes it a little easier for new players to grasp. That it's not. You don't have that weight on you that, you got to come up with, what's going on here or how the resolution is going to go down or whatever. You just kind of play through it.
Too much work, damn it. Oh, excuse me. I'm not sitting in my normal comfortable seat. I got to stretch my hiney out. I apologize.
Okay. TMI, but that's okay.
Well, it's either that or you're gonna hear bones cracking in a little bit.
I don't want that. No, I don't want that.
And the dog is waking up near my feet.
So what other projects do you have coming up, Lou?
Ooh, well, so got a second one of the Mutant Crawl Classics, the whole Classics mutated thing. It looks like if I get to 30, what am I saying? Ooh, that's a pipe dream. If I get to 3,000.
You've already hit 3,000. You've already
hit 3,000. Okay, so it's going on, man. It's on like Donkey Kong. Christopher, if you're on here, you're about to get an art request.
Wow.
So I'm gonna put in for art for the next one. It's in the like pencil notepad stage. So hopefully, probably by North Texas, I'll have that one up and going. It's going to be called the Time Lost Citadel, and it kind of takes place on the Red Planet. There's a portion of this one where the characters see this like view screen that it's broken, but if it were to get fixed, they could go through it basically to Mars. And there's these little step pyramids on Mars, and so there's a whole adventure I've got kind of figured out for that. So that's coming up, and then for the Dare Luck Club, I've got a kind of a resource book. Thanks, Christopher. I got a resource book I'm coming up with, kind of like a rules. What did they call it in the basic? The companion rules. That's going to be called extracurricular, and it's got like more in-depth ideas for doing magic with the system, gadgeteering. It's going to have rules if you want to play as like a sidekick animal, like an actual Scooby-Doo. Rules for playing as older teens and adults that are with the club, and then some other little bonus stuff in it, just kind of flesh out that system a bit. And then always got things on the mind. So my first gaming company, Wholesome Entertainment, I did that back in the 2000s and fell on my face on it. But one of our last products was this here, Movies Till Dawn. And it's this is just a test play kind of one, but it's basically has a little journal-sized rule book in it, and it's a game. It's a lot like McDermott's. It came from the Late Late Show. You guys remember that one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So it's like that. You play an actor that's either like down on their luck or like a B-movie actor or actress, and then each adventure you take on different roles in that movie, and it's really slapstick. It's really like almost a hybrid game of role playing and like a party. Whose line is it anyhow sort of thing. You basically compete in each scene to steal camera time, and it's got some neat little features to it. I really liked it, and I really wish I'd almost started with that game back when I was running that company, because I think it would have caught on fire a little better than the other Victorian era game that I did. But so that's what I got going on. A little bit, just a little.
It's a full
Sounds
plate.
good.
Very full. So, Mike, is this where we transition to this week in gaming?
Yes.
It's my favorite part, guys.
I know Lou is a regular. Yeah, Lou gets to be part of his favorite part of the show now. But
Right,
yes,
well,
we had a huge gaming stupid last week that we didn't even call it Gaming Stupid because it was just the whole last hour of the show. But yes, honestly, I'm with still recovering from the convention and everything. I'm going to have to bow to your wisdom here, Eric, because I know we talked about a bunch of stuff this week, but I don't. I get all confused now with the convention and
no,
everything going on. So I'm out of sorts here. I don't know
get
what
confused
new stuff we
with
have.
what's going on too. So, especially since I'm away from my. Usually when I'm home, I've got all. I'm sure my computer hates me because I have like 50 tabs open on my browser. Oh, come on, Doc.
I do the same thing. I do the same damn thing.
Okay. Yeah. You want to be part of this? Are you gonna talk about anything? You're gonna be part of this?
He's not gonna make any enemies. He is not gonna make any enemies in the gaming community. That's not fair to Lou. We're not gonna make. Oh, you got your dog. Oh, your dog. I thought you were talking about Lou. Your dog.
We'll tell you, Blue. How about
the dog looks cuter than Lou, actually. I like
the
dog is cuter. Actually, they look kind of the same, really. Interesting.
I don't know. We're gonna model you, Donka. What do you say?
Donka always has this really shamed look. I have a dog. I used to have a dog until she passed away, but she always had a shamed look on her face, like, "What did you do now? Nothing." Yeah. She's like, "Nothing. I just look like this way."
I just eat poop. That's all. But sometimes it's my own.
My dog,
and then lick your face.
Yeah.
By the way, you want to hear a little known fact about dachshunds?
Yes.
They will eat your toes off, and there's been not one, not two, but many cases throughout history where somebody has been something happened to them and they couldn't get up, and the dachshund will eat your toes off. This look it up. Look up dachshund.
Are you gonna eat your daddy's toes off?
Is that what it translates to in German, like toe biter or something?
Dachshund, toe eating dog.
I remember reading a story about a woman who fell down and broke her leg and couldn't move, and the dachshund ate her toe off. And then there was another one about somebody that was trapped in a bed and they couldn't get up. And there's many of those. But dachshunds will eat your toes off and not think twice about it. Just a little nice little chewy little snack there as you're screaming in horror.
She might think twice about it because she'll get less walks if I'm lacking toes.
She doesn't know that, I don't think. That's the problem. She probably doesn't know that.
I don't know. I don't think that she wants. I got toe jam anyway. She doesn't want toe jam. Come on.
Okay, let's move on. So we saw you in a leotard this week. I don't want to hear about anything else. So I just remembered one of the stories I saw this week was that Paizo, and of course Paizo has had some issues lately. They're going to drop religious phylacteries from the Pathfinder game because I'm not sure why. I read their explanation, didn't make much sense, but apparently,
the phylactery comes from like Hebrew tradition, doesn't it?
Right?
Isn't that like they have the Torah in there or whatever, something like that?
My whole thing is, there's so many gaming things that come from one tradition or another that I think if you're going to take out phylacteries, you better take out a lot more stuff because that's not the only thing that refers to a real life ritual or item of religion.
There's a lot of stuff.
So that's just kind of odd. I don't know if this is something that was in the works for a long time. Is this something they planned because they're getting so much bad pub? Or let's get a win in the column. Let's get a win in our column. Look over here. Look, we got rid of phylacteries. You love us now, right? We love unions too. See, you love us now.
Right.
Forget about the other stuff.
Incense next, right? Isn't incense used in a lot of religious rituals?
I've been to Catholic church. They have a lot of incense going.
Chalice, right? Yeah. How about a chalice?
Oh, you're right. Yep. Oh, yeah, get rid of that. Yep.
It's all got to go. It's all got investments. Oh my God, this is a slippery slope. By the way, Mike, we've hit the big time.
Oh my God,
we actually got hit with porn spam in the midst of our.
I saw you block that. You were on point, man.
I didn't see it. I missed it. Where
you got that real quick? Nice.
What the fuck is this? And I went, oh, what can they see? What?
Well, maybe it's not porn. It said go to this website and jerk off, and that could mean. I mean, let's face it. If you show me a bunch of shrink wrap,
people are hunting, they want to make jerky.
Yeah, if you show me a bunch of shrink wrap first edition modules, I may whip it out there. I mean, because that's pretty. So maybe it wasn't the same kind of porn we're thinking of. I don't know.
I don't know.
Good shot there. Good one there. Good very quick on the button there. But
I was only listen. If they hadn't gone all bold, I probably would never even realize. Like, oh,
we would have seen it for a while, you know.
But they had to put all the emoticons on the end of it too. It's like, yeah, come on,
yeah. And Chris Dodge was in there, you know, trying to click it real quick, and it goes away. And he doesn't get
He said it, Chris. Tell me,
what are you doing?
He doesn't get there in time.
That's how you get the viruses.
So anyway, so the thing that annoys me about this, that really about anything Paizo does nowadays, is they have to make a big deal about it and have a press release and look at us, pat on the back, and look what we did. We just did this thing instead of just doing it and not, you know, just doing it and not having to say we're just so awesome because we did this thing. They just don't seem to ever learn, you know, that. It's not about calling attention to yourself. It's actually about, you know, why don't you actually improve your game so that it actually sells better than the first edition of your game? No. Which is still outselling the second edition of your game.
A third edition is going to be over the fence, is what I'm hearing.
It has nowhere to go but up. So yes, I'm sure it will. Yeah, somebody brought up this page. I was looking at that. What about golems? Golems are that comes from a Hebrew right there. So all your golems are gone. Boom. Get rid of the golems. I mean, it's just dumb. They're choosing one little item.
Ifredis. I mean, that's all part of the whole Islam tradition.
Yeah. This is just more pointless virtue signaling by Paizo. They need a win so bad nowadays. You know, they're about to get curb stomped by Paizo Workers Union. So I guess
here's what I don't get about all this culture of doing this sort of thing, like getting rid of the Native American icons and stuff like that. Like the only reason I know anything about like the Orient and you know Hebrew traditions and different Native American cultures is because of that stuff. I saw it as a kid. It was interesting. It took me this far, and then as I got more interested, I went and read things. I mean, it's like erasing all that culture just because we're afraid we're offending someone. I don't know, man.
Well, I'll never. My whole thing is, I'm white dude, right? I mean, my heritage is Italian and Cajun, so I mean, I'm probably about as white as you can get. And I'll never, if somebody says something's offensive, I'd have to believe them because I'm not that person. When I was a kid, use the word gypsy, right? That was just a word everybody used. Everybody called each other gypsies. And then now we know that gypsy is an offensive term to a lot of the Roma. That they don't appreciate that because that term was used to execute a bunch of them to get them kicked out of countries. So I didn't think. I mean, obviously it's not hurting me, but yeah, if somebody that's Roma descent thinks that's a bad word, then I'm with you. I'm out. Sometimes I see something and I wonder, was anybody really affected? So did they get a bunch of letters from Jewish people that said, phylacteries really has to go? That's what I want to know.
Okay. Golems are okay, dude.
Yeah, golems are fine. Leave those in there and leave chalice in there and leave that. But, definitely take out phylacteries. That's what I don't understand is are they looking for – are they just trying to find a problem?
Why?
Because, like I said, if there was a huge group of Jewish gamers that all came out and said this is just offensive to us, I have no problem. Yeah, remove it. It sounds like a great idea. Let's not do that. But I just get the impression there wasn't a giant write-in campaign from, Jewish people across the world that just phylacteries.
You don't need a giant. All you need is one loud Twitter account. We've learned that, right?
That's true. That's true.
So I believe it was Matt pointed out that there's a little action going on with Activision and Blizzard. And
well. What did we say when this happened, Eric? What did we say?
We said that the Paizo and yeah, it was an opening move. All right.
Yes.
I'm not a chess player, but what was it? Like we're gonna move this pawn, and it's only a pawn, but you know what? This pawn's gonna get us a queen in the end. So here, what happened? Activision, Blizzard, and King. King is the all the games that you get on your phone. And King employees formed a workers' alliance called Better ABK back in July of 2021, following an employee walkout. This, by the way, is from inverse.com if anybody wants to follow along at home. Mm-hmm. Then on October 30th, the Alliance tweeted about unionizing. Now, gee, somebody, I guess, set the stage for that. Bobby Kotick giving a visible stance to bettering ABK and the working conditions within for the benefit of your employees. Are you prepared to voluntarily recognize a union formed by those workers so they can hold you accountable for your commitments? The tweet says. Now, they are at the same time saying that it does not mean that they are formally looking to be unionized, but no. Yeah, and I can almost guarantee you that there is something with 3 initials that aren't TSR. That might be CW something that is funding the movement at Blizzard, Activision, and King to unionize those employees. Here's the link to the article.
Yeah, Eric and I, when this came out, Eric and I both told you this was never about Paizo. Look, they don't care if they get Paizo. Paizo's 30 people, whatever. The union dues aren't even going to cover their plane flights into town to organize the union there. They don't care. This is all about getting a foothold in the publishing industry, and through the publishing industry, companies that they have wanted to unionize for a long time, including Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, all those companies. They would love to have those guys. Paizo, yeah, whatever. You know, we'll go with if that's our way, and if that's our foot in the door, we'll do it. But it was never about. This is never about Paizo. This is always about having a bigger footprint in the gaming industry, because right now the unions have no in the gaming industry. They have nothing now. Well, guess what? Now they got Paizo. So they can dream big now. They can say, "Oh, what about WotC? What about Activision? What about Blizzard?" And actually, WotC's even an afterthought too, because you want to get Activision and Blizzard. That's where the big bucks
and King. You don't realize it, but I mentioned that was like all like the Bubble Witch and all those other games, or all these King games that you were addicted to on your phone.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Those are international too. I mean, big plays in Asia and everything. Yeah.
So I mean that's interesting, and I'm going to fall on the swords, and I'm going to say, hey, I should have caught that. The article was from last Saturday, October 30th. I was too busy embarrassing myself doing yoga in a really awesome outfit, so I didn't catch it, and then I came up here. So I fall on the sword. I should have caught it. So thank you for pointing this out, because this is going to be. It's going to be potentially huge, and not huge in a way that you're going to say, all right, it's great for the consumers. It's going to change the way these companies produce games. And I probably in the long run, it's going to lessen the choices of consumers, because here's the dirty little secret is they'll unionize. And in these companies, what's going to happen is they're going to downsize because costs are going to increase, and they're going to need to balance it. And you know what? You always find there's a lot of dead wood to trim when you need to increase profits. So I suspect that's what's going to happen. I don't know if the end user is going to notice much of a difference. I mean, they come on, look at computer games. Look at Cyberpunk, right? How fucked up was that? So they're rushing these things out anyway, and they don't care. They'll beta test you. You're the beta tester after paying $70 for a game, and enjoy being our stress tester for this as we figure out how to make it usable 6 months down the line. So.
And I'll tell you, one of the things is that for a long time, because I think, and I can't remember who made the comment, but it was a wonderful comment that basically Paizo is ground zero for why you have a union to begin with, because they're treating their employees like doo-doo. So look at some of these computer companies. They do the same damn things. They have what's called crunch time. So everybody here probably knows what it is, but in case you don't, crunch time is when they basically say, oh my gosh, we got to hit this deadline. So we're not giving any time off. You got to work 12-hour, 16-hour days, and we're not going to pay any
overtime. In the office.
Boom. Yeah. Let's get to work, guys. They don't get paid anymore. Now, sometimes they do. Sometimes companies have started to implement crunch time things where they'll give you a little extra pay. But most of the time, they just work your ass off, because I had a friend that ID Games was in based in Dallas for a long time. And as a matter of fact, one of their headquarters is really close to my house. I have a friend that worked there, and he said their whole business model relies on hiring you for a game. And a lot of these games, they take years and years of to work on. There's nothing worse than being hired to work on a game, working on it for 4 years, and it never comes out. I mean, it just kills these guys because they put all their inspiration in it. But what they would do is their business model is to hire you knowing they're going to burn you out from ever working in the industry in 5 years. They're going to work you to the frazzle, to the bone, to where you just quit and go do something else. They don't care. You know why? The next guy comes along and says, man, I want to work on Doom also. I want to work at the same company that does, the whatever game, Code of Honor. And they don't care. They purposely burn these guys out, and you're just an absolute commodity to them. So yes, there is a good possibility that a union, if the union is set up well and does their job, they could probably get some of these guys to unionize because they are treated like shit. I mean, they really are. A lot of them are. Unless you're one of the higher creative guys in the, unless you're one of the big names like the Rebecca Heinemans and stuff of the world, you're going to get treated like shit. And they know that, and they don't care. They just work you and then, until you quit. And like, okay, next guy from college that wants to work for a big game company. Yeah, that's me. That's so cool. You get to play games all day. The 4 years later, like, I hate games. This sucks. Well, next guy, come in. So yes, it's prime fertile ground for unionization. Let's put it that way.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And yes, we like Mike said, Paizo was just the opening move. They were too small for CWA to get involved otherwise. And I've spoken with people who have positions in the industry on the computer side, and they're like, oh, no, this is Paizo. It's nothing. It's a nothing burger. This isn't the first move. This is just CWA, just, hey, 30 bodies is 30 bodies. No. 30 bodies is not 30 bodies. 30 bodies is the opening to the door to a $70 billion company. I mean, this is I've been involved. I had a political position for a number of years as a sergeant, as a liaison to another city agency, and nothing gets done, even between agencies, that isn't a chess move trying to outplay somebody else. Nothing is. There's always something going on, and this CWA, that was a chess move. They're not playing checkers. So
no. So this is a developing story. We'll probably be talking about this into the next year, definitely.
Oh
God, this has a long tail to it, and we'll be obviously we can't cover it as well as some internet people that concentrate on games, but we will definitely come back to, because it could definitely impact role-playing games, pencil and paper games as well.
It could, but my personal thoughts, I'm going to tell you that when the CWA's final destination gets brought in, when they finally make the we've now brought the people from Activision Blizzard King into the fold, Paizo is going to be an afterthought. Their union is going to be.
We'll call you.
Yeah. Pretty much, just send your dues. Well, we'll send.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
We'll send you some nice cards so you can get your discounts at hotels. I'm a CWA member, right? Do I get a discount at the Marriott? Only at 3 stars and less hotels.
Here's the problem with Paizo unionizing and nobody else unionizing. They will fail, and they will eventually go out of business. And the reason is because they will be forced to pay higher salaries, and give more benefits than any other gaming company out there. And we've talked about this before, Eric and I. Most gaming companies are this man right here, Lou.
Yes.
It's one guy or two guys.
Oh, it's a sad world we live in.
I mean, no, but I'm serious. And there's no need to unionize. One of the funniest posts Zach and I saw on our trip to Gamehole was we're reading people talking about congratulating a Paizo on having a union. One guy posted, you know what they need to do? They need to go after Cobalt Press now and unionize them. And we laughed and laughed and laughed. Do these idiots not know that Cobalt Press is one person? It's Wolfgang Bauer. There's nobody else. There's nobody else. There's no other full-time employees.
Right.
And that's how most
freelancers
it's
are not
all
going to be
these
unionized.
freelancers, and freelancers are a dime a dozen. Not in every case, but in a lot of cases they are. And most companies are one or two guys. They're working out of their kitchen or their living room or their basement, and they just don't have the resources. There's only one other company here that really makes any sense to unionize. That's WotC. Frog Games, there's like 2 full-time employees. Green Ronin, there's 2, Chris and Nicole. I mean, look, you go down the line.
Troll Lord has a handful.
Yeah, Troll Lord's the Chenault brothers. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's their company. I mean, there's just not.
Right. Once you get away from people that have like actual executive titles who don't get unionized, you probably have maybe there's 5 employees at Steve Jackson Games that would fit under that umbrella that like work the warehouse and the shipping. I mean, think about it. That you're not going to unionize that. Paizo was just barely big enough, but it was that toe in the door.
And it was a great, but the thing was they had grievances. I mean, legit grievances. That place was a shit show. And so they did, and you're right, they were just big enough. Now, this would have been a lot bigger if this still came out when Paizo 1 was big, because that was that they were employing, I don't know, 80 to a couple hundred people back then. Now it's down to about 60 or whatever it is now. Okay, Shadzar, that was actually a good joke. Most of your stuff I don't like, but that's pretty funny. If Lou unionizes against himself. Any thoughts on that, Lou? Are you about to unionize? Are you going to unionize against
I am credited as both the writer and the cartographer, so something's gonna
You're working.
I think he's getting 3 more pennies than him.
Title doesn't work. You're working at a title. You can't be a writer and the cartographer. You're working at a title, and that would be a violation of your union.
I don't remember what I was talking. What was I talking about? The Chadzar cracked me up there. But yeah, so you don't really have a lot of places to make inroads, and that's why this is all about getting into the video game industry, because there's just not a lot of future here. And, I don't want to bring up. I want to bring up another thing is you don't get into gaming to get rich. Lou, have you bought your new Mercedes Benz yet from all your profits from
I prefer the Bugatti myself.
Nice.
No,
there's literally 5 people in gaming that have a lot of money. Nobody gets rich in gaming. You do it because you love to do it, and so
the reason I'm so glad I hit 3,000 is that actually puts me in the black for all this. Like before that, I was in the red, and this Kickstarter, even with them taking their cut, finally gets me into the black. And that's 3 years.
Somebody else buy Lou's Kickstarter. I put in some money. We're only at 3,000. We need to pump these numbers up a little bit.
I'm happy, guys. But yeah, if you can spread the word, it goes till I think Sunday. It's done.
All right, we need to pump the numbers up a little bit. I'd like to see it make a little more.
Do we?
As Eddie says, conventions are where the money is, right? Well, actually, yes. If you have 5,000 people at your convention, yes. If you have 500, no. And so there's not a lot of money in gaming. There's a few people. It's like they always talk about. There's an inverted triangle. There's all these people. There's people at the top. The guys that run Dragon Con, Peter Atkinson. A couple people up here. Probably Jeremy Crawford. And then there's everybody else down here, and they're making like enough money to buy soup. It's just the way the gaming industry is set up. So this is not going to result. That's what I'm saying is if nobody unionizes but Paizo, all this means is they're going to have to pay everybody more. They're going to have to give more benefits. Everybody else keeps trundling along like they do. And so all Paizo is doing is they're making the same amount of money as before, but they're actually having to pay more for employees and benefits and this blah blah. So this doesn't
profits go down. So that's not good. Sustainable.
No, it's not good.
So
not sustainable.
What are they going to do? They're going to are they going to then downsize? I mean, that's again.
They've already downsized. They fired every creative person they ever had work at. Paizo. I mean, they really have. They've let them all go. I mean, I don't know who's left to downsize.
Listen, if you're working in gaming for your full-time employment, God bless you. But you better have a spouse that has a real job with health insurance, because there are a few people.
I don't know if you remember the story about what happened to Owen K. Stevens. Owen K. Stevens is a pretty venerable name in gaming, and he worked for Paizo for years. He's a very well-known guy. He quit his job at Paizo which requires all employees to live in Seattle, to move to the Midwest and take a job with another company whose name I cannot remember, Lone Wolf Games. And he and his wife moved across the country. He gets his job there, and 2 months later, he's let go. He's fired and let go because they ran out of money. I mean, that stuff happened. That happens all the time. That is not an unusual story. I mean, it sucked for him, and he had to do a GoFundMe, and he had he was really screwed because they moved to a whole different state and had bought a house and everything. But, I mean, he just couldn't pop into another job making $60,000 a year, $50,000 a year, because there's really not that many jobs in gaming that pay that much. There's really not. As we found out from Paizo, those poor saps were making, chump change. They're making $30,000 a year to live in one of the most expensive areas in the United States.
Yeah.
And so, it's interesting to see what happens, but it doesn't bode well for Paizo. Paizo was between a rock and a hard place because either they said, no, we don't accept the union. Then they're the bad guys. All the people that buy stuff from them says, we're not going to buy from you anymore. And then they get shunned. And then they could say, oh, we recognize the union, which they did. Now they're going to get screwed because they're going to, now if it fixes some of the issues they have there, they probably should be paying more than $30,000 for a full-time employee of a game company in one of the most expensive, suburbs of the United States. Yes, that's not good, But then again, these people they weren't being kept in a cage. They could have said at any one point, as some of them did, as I think Crystal Fraser and a few others who just quit after all said, I'm not making enough money. I'm out of here. And they quit and either form your own game company or go work for somebody else or go do another job, because honestly, there's not that many full-time jobs in the RPG industry.
Which is why people remember Lisa Stevens, more than one person quoted her as saying effectively, why are they complaining? They're getting paid. There are people that would do their jobs for free.
That's not untrue, because people want to work in gaming so bad, but it ain't that great, folks. I mean, it's if you really want to do it for the love of the game, then do it for the love of the game. But you're not going to make a very good living doing it. I'm here to tell you, I know every person that works at Frog God Games, and every single one of them, including Zach Glazer and Bill Webb, have another job. I mean, that's the way things roll in our industry. There's very few people that do it full time because they make enough money to survive on, like Eric was saying, either your wife makes money or you just don't care about money.
Right. I mean, I didn't even start doing content for Swords and Wizardry or Continual Light until I was retired with a pension, because that's my guaranteed income. I don't have to. I can approach this as a hobby. All right. Approaching this as an actual job is a different mindset. But, when you have to pay bills and put food on the table and pay rent and pay your car and your car insurance and everything else that pops up, and do you really want to be making $35,000 a year at Paizo and have that be your income to do all that?
When you're like 45 years old or, whatever. Yeah.
Right. I don't, the only roommate I want at 45 is my spouse and possibly kids. Okay. I don't want to be living with 2 or 3 other grown men.
Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders? Yeah.
And arguing over who's doing the dishes in the sink that's been accumulating for the last week and a half. I don't need that. I'm sorry.
No. And so, it's interesting story, but it's kind of, I'm not really laughable, but I don't know what you'd say. It's sad because I see a lot of people online go, man, this is great. Paizo did the right thing. This is going to be awesome. But I don't think anybody's looking 5 years ahead to see what happens. And what's going to happen is Paizo is going to have to start making money again. I mean,
right.
Paizo Pathfinder 2.0 did not do anything. Starfinder's doing a little better than they thought it would, but man, when your original game still outsells your new game, that is not good. That's not good at all. And you spend a lot of money. I know how these companies work. They spend a lot of money on development, on play testing, on new books, everything, and they're trying to get people to buy a whole new library of books. And everybody's going, nah, I like Pathfinder 1.0 just fine. And I got all the books. That is not good, folks. So good luck, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, I'll throw Paizo the same advice I've been throwing out to them for the last year and a half, 2 years. Convert your adventure pass to 5e. They'll get eaten up, and guess what? You could do that with the skeleton staff, and Lisa and all the others. Eric Mona would all get paid, all what they want to get paid, and you wouldn't have to worry about a union because you could do that with freelancers doing the conversion. But hey, that's why they get paid the big bucks. We don't get paid diddly.
Look at all the famous TSR game designers of the 80s, Janelle Jaquays and Dennis Sestero, those guys. They moved on to they dabbled in, Lawrence Schick, all those guys, they dabbled in RPGs for a while, and guess what they all did? They moved to the burgeoning computer industry. Lawrence Schick went to Blizzard. I mean, all these guys, they went on to way more lucrative careers in video games because RPGs weren't paying anything. That's something you did for about 3 or 4 years. You have a very few people that made a living at it, somewhere like Jim Ward or Frank Manser. And you know what those guys have now? No insurance. And they have very little savings because they never, Jim Ward was huge at TSR for a long time. He saw some of the biggest projects at the company. And he doesn't have insurance. I mean, these guys don't have, now, look, I think Jim luckily hit Medicare age, so he's doing a little better with his foot issues. But that's what happens to a lot of these guys, I mean, Tim Cass taught for 20-something years because he got out of games at 81 because he wasn't paying any money. He formed his own company, Adventure Gaming Magazine. They ran for about 12 issues, which, by the way, if you ever find those, it's a very good magazine. But he realized he couldn't make a living there. It's a tough road to make, and all of us do have side gigs. We all have, stuff we do on the side because it's not going to pay the rent. Go
figure.
I mean, so what else we got? We got any more gaming stupid besides the usual stupid?
I think
did Lanasa do anything this week? Let's just go. Let's just roll.
Well, I mean, somebody claiming to be Justin Lanasa donated money toward me on Saturday.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but one of the comments was like for the grits. I figured it couldn't really be Justin.
Keep that up. Whoever's doing it, keep it up. That's a great bit. I love it. Love that bit.
But I haven't. Again, I've been up here for a couple of days. I haven't seen any wonder-filled stupidity, nor any recent.
Did you ever catch the idiot person that supposedly threatened them and threatened
one of their
sponsors? The FBI is looking for him, right? The FBI is out there looking for him.
The FBI has been out. Now, mind you, okay, the FBI takes these threats seriously, and I know that because my wife Rachel was the director of a high-end drug and alcohol treatment program in Manhattan a couple of years ago when they got hit with somebody, I guess, was using a work computer to surf the internet, and they got hit with an encryption zap and ransomware. She's calling up from the other room. Ransomware. And what do they want? $100,000? Oh, it went up to $1 million. All right, and the actual report. Rach calls the FBI. She gets a number that says, basically, please leave your complaint after the beep, and somebody will get. Oh, online. Online. Nobody ever got back to her.
Yeah. No,
so I mean, they don't. So do I think that the FBI got notified? But sure, they got notified. Do I think that the FBI gives a flying fuck? No, they don't. Trust
they
me.
have to get 1,000. I mean, look, if you ever had your car burglarized, you know what you do. The cops don't come out and look at your car. They say, you know what, just write down what you lost. We'll write it down. Call your insurance company. They don't come out. They get 1 million burglaries a day. Eric knows this. They just get so many burglaries. You don't have time to come out and dust for prints or whatever they think you're going to do. No.
Listen, NYPD. We'll go. We'll take. You take a report. Listen, if the evidence collection team is not working active cases for the detective squad, and if the value of what was stolen hits like $5,000, maybe you'll get a fingerprint person down there within 12 hours. Maybe. But I mean, generally speaking, it was like, here's the report. Yep. What got stolen? All right. Yeah. Oh, Oh yeah, that fits the pattern that's going on. We'll hand it to the fraud.
That's great. Yeah, you're part of the pattern, bro.
I mean, listen. Whoever wrote the letter, and I don't know who wrote it, but whoever wrote the letter, I used the C word. I'm not going to do it again because I don't want to demonetize the channel. But I described them with the C word. But I will say that they are probably the medical term for them would be an imbecile or a moron. I mean, the medical term, the actual pull it out of a dictionary, that would be the definition of the person who wrote that letter, because they have such the fact that they can't write and they can't type and they can't even use proper sentences. The whole activity is just from somebody who's missing a few brain cells. And maybe it's because they abused drugs in the past. Maybe they were born that way, but it's not somebody that's competent. In my professional opinion, as a former law enforcement officer who has seen things of similar content, usually it's not written by your high school, the professor that teaches at your local community college. No. It might be the janitor who, works part-time, maybe, but no. Again, I would not take that letter seriously, Mike. Your years on the internet, you've had angry customers, I'm sure, reach out to you.
Oh yeah,
and threaten you.
I had a guy get my phone number once on eBay when they used to. People won't believe this. Back in the early days of eBay, like 98, 99, you were encouraged to trade phone numbers with people who bought from you, and they could look up there and find your phone number. I was called by a guy in California, said he's going to drive to Dallas and kill me because the miniatures he got were broken, and then I didn't even ship him any miniatures. He had the person wrong. He's an idiot. He wouldn't listen to me. I kept telling him I didn't ship him any miniatures, but he bought something else from me a while back. He got the numbers mixed up. But no, I had his phone call where he said he's going to drive to Dallas and kill me, and he had my address. Like, great, thanks, eBay. And I told the police about it. Like, okay, well, if you die, we'll know who killed you. Like,
right. Well, yeah.
What they said.
It comes down to. By the way, there was no even implied physical threat in this. This is a threat that if you continue to associate with TSR, we're going to use Twitter against you, and maybe other social media. So, I mean, the FBI is no physical threat. What? Oh, you can say bad things about me on social media. It happens to me all the fucking time.
Have you been on Twitter and seen some of the shit that flows on Twitter? And yeah, I've seen Eric show me some of his stuff. Yeah. They don't care. There's too much shit going on. There's just not enough time to deal with it. So that's when they say they're going to report to FBI and they get all solemn and serious. I just had to roll my eyes like, okay, yeah, that'll work out. FBI is going to bust this case wide open any day now.
No, they're not. But now, did it do what TSR needed it to do? Did it drum up support? Yes. Did it get people going, oh, you got to support TSR because look, you've got the woke brigade writing angry letters at people that may possibly be working with TSR. One person wrote a stupid letter. I mean, I'm sorry. The letter did not have the intention that it was supposed to have, or maybe it did. Okay. Maybe it was somebody in love with TSR who figured this would be a great way to get TSR some positive.
It would be the first time it's ever happened in our history of the world. It's not a. That's not something that doesn't happen. It does happen. People are like, hey, look at over here. Somebody's being mean to us. Oh yeah, just forget about all the stuff we've done the last week. Just concentrate on the fact that somebody's being mean to us. Yeah.
Right, because the person's being mean to us. They're so scary they can't even make correct sentences. and they can't even spell Justin. I don't have it in front of me, and I still remember that typo. I'm like,
oh yeah. It's sad because we give these guys free pub every week. So,
Oh, they love it. They're happy with
unfortunately,
it.
they have a press release whenever they want. They have a press release.
They have one going on right
and
now.
They get covered. They get
recording
covered all the time.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, they're saying that we may have done this. No, I'm saying that whoever wrote this is a moron or an imbecile at the very least. Possibly brain damage from whatever. And I'm saying that it could be somebody who thought they were going to help TSI by writing this. Because
they're going to get attacked. So you're going to want to help these guys out, right? By ordering some of their non-existent product because not non-existent. Hold on.
Copy exists.
Hold on. They've got one copy of.
They've got a cover. They at least have a cover.
They've got a cover of Star Frontiers out there. Okay, I have to admit. Okay, I'm gonna have a little confession here. Vince doesn't have to keep giving these guys free pub, but I will say, if Vince is doing this tongue in cheek, he did a great job the other day because he spent 15 minutes talking about the cover, and he couldn't get the guy to open the book. The guy wouldn't open the book to show inside because it's all proprietary, obviously. Yeah, and he also couldn't get a PDF of it because that might get pirated. Because
here, I'm gonna put the cherry on top of this week in stupid part because this happened the day after we did our live stream last week. So this is from the 28th. On the 28th, I got reached out to by somebody who did a YouTube video on this because they initially did a video on what they expected Star Frontiers to be because they had published one of the Star Frontiers fanzines, whatever. I always screw up that magazine. Fanzine, I got it right the first time. I should have had a V8.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, that will never happen again. Trust me. So he couldn't get a straight answer from Mr. Michael Havermeyer about Larry Elmore being involved. He had to get clearance.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So he, God bless him, the guy reaches out to Larry and says, "Hey, Larry, are you involved in this project?" And Larry's like, "What? Huh?" Doing his best impression of a confused president. Huh? What? So, but then Larry responds like 6 hours later. Oh, TSR contacted me, and I might be involved in the project.
Yeah,
doing a cover. So, in other words, they've been hinting or inferring that Larry was involved in this without even approaching Larry to see if Larry wanted to be involved in this until questions got asked. And then somebody at TSR went, "Somebody's asking questions if Larry Elmore is involved with the holy shit. Dude, somebody reach out to Larry fast.
Call Larry quick.
And tell him the offer happened. He's an old guy. He tell him he actually offered it like weeks ago and he forgot." And I was like, and he's like, no, TSR just reached out to me today, and they said it's like, oh jeez. So why would you? It's bad enough that people like Mr. D, Jeff, were like, listen, I am not on staff. I do freelance work, and I really request that you don't advertise your work as me being affiliated with your company.
Right.
That I thought was, pretty bad way of, Jeff handled it okay, but TSR pushing the whole and Jeff D.
Part of our company, yeah. He did work for hire. Most of these artists are work for hire. That's just the way it goes. So.
Yeah.
But by the way, I'm debuting my new game here. It's called The Satanic Panic. Now here's the cover. You can't see the game, but look how thick it is. It's really thick. So I have this whole game. There's maps and stuff in here. I'm just gonna show you real quick.
Hey, wait. I moving pictures when you flip it.
So it's called The Satanic Panic. It's an awesome role-playing game.
Mike, when you flipped it, the image I saw was this. Why was this the image I saw when you flipped?
I don't know what you're talking about. This is my new game. I have one copy.
I know. But when you flipped it, it was like a moving picture, and all I saw was.
But I'm afraid you might steal it because I don't trust you. So yeah, there it is right there. I'm going to work on that. So if you want a copy of that, send me $40, and I'll set you up.
Oh, no,
I mean,
no,
it's out of print right now. It's out of print right now.
It's out of print, but there's two different prices, by the way. If you go to Dungeon
Oh.
Hobby Shop, it's one price, and if you go to the TSR site, it's another price. But here's my question, and this is a big question, because in this hobby, what is one of the biggest selling points for a game? When you're selling a game, you want to know who wrote it, right?
Sure.
You know, if you find somebody who's attached to that game, well, you know, I see James Bond's attached to that. Oh my God, I want to buy it. Oh yeah, you know,
it's Spawn. It's
Jim
Spawn.
Wampler.
Let's
Oh,
not
my
get
God.
crazy here. It's just James Bond.
Who's attached to? Who wrote this game? You don't know.
James Bond sent me that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, that's sweet. Was it a little
The
love
Dorothy,
letter?
yeah, the Dorothy from Golden
Yes.
Girls. Long story. Thanks, James. You bastard.
But, honestly, we don't know who the author of the new Star Frontiers, whatever they're calling it, new saga or whatever. All we know is that it's the name only, because you have to rewrite everything else.
Is it space opera? Is it hard sci-fi? Is it a mixture? Is it more GURPS? Is it percentile based? We don't know. I don't know. But it's not the old game because they don't have the rights to the old game. So it's got to be something completely different than the old Star Frontiers. There's no Dracolites or Vrusk or anything like that. Volturnus. It's brand new. But we don't. Like I said, there's lots of. Is it like Traveler? Is it more like Gamma World? Is it? What? Is it exploration based? Is it turn?
You'll play shit and you'll like it. Stop asking these questions. Just buy it. Doesn't matter. Just buy it. Oh, and buy.
All right, you're right. I'm sending you $40. Yeah,
just buy questions for. And just so you know, the fine folks at TSR have also applied for a Star Frontiers trademark to cover dice games. That's a separate.
Well, that's exactly like the original Star Frontiers.
Well,
because that was a huge dice game, right? I mean, that was all about dice.
Here's my undying hope. I hope they go for a collectible dice game.
Dragon dice.
Oh yeah. We know where that goes.
It's going full time. It's going. Yeah, that's oh boy. Yeah, this is. What would we have done this year without these clowns? I mean, come on.
We would have had shorter episodes.
Yeah, much shorter. I don't think we'd be close to 1,100 subscribers if
no, I don't.
These guys.
They certainly helped. I mean, listen. In reality, here's the other part that we didn't cover. One last part to cover. When it comes to CarryCon, we were talking about conventions earlier. Luke Gygax put out a statement about masks and vaccines for GaryCon. But then in that statement, he says, and I talked with my brother, Ernie, and Ernie mentioned the difficulties in running long games with a large group wearing masks.
Right.
And Ernie will be at GaryCon to socialize, but he will not be running games at GaryCon.
Interesting.
I can guarantee you Ernie will be running games at TSRCon. There's no way in hell he's not. He's going to be the draw. So if you want to and listen, I'm going to give credit to TSR for this one, because I know, listen, the county does not require masks. All right. There's no mask mandate for the
But there is now a mask mandate at GaryCon. Lucas
there is a mask mandate at GaryCon. That is by GaryCon. It's not by the government.
No, it's
by
not.
GaryCon.
Now, Gamehole was required to have a mask mandate because Dane County, where it's in, has a mask mandate. So Gamehole had to have a mask mandate. GaryCon does not have to have a mask mandate. They've just chosen to do so.
They've chosen to do so. So if you want to game in Lake Geneva that weekend without a mask, your options are the parking lot outside of the Grand Geneva, where you can freeze your ass off.
It's going to be cold, yes. Very, very cold.
Find somebody's room or go to TSRCon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
That's not a bad marketing.
That's great marketing.
You got to differentiate yourself, man.
That really plays into. I thought that TSR did something like really stupid and like backhanded doing this, but after the mask mandate, I'm saying, well, you know what? They positioned themselves really well. It's
Yes, they did.
almost like they knew that this was going to be the policy for the convention.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure I'm not going to try to read Luke's mind here. I'm sure this is obviously meant as a health thing. He's got some older people that are coming. Lou was at Game Hole with me, and so I don't want to be controversial or anything here. I didn't like wearing a mask. I don't like it. I can't recognize people because I have facial recognition, and I don't recognize. I saw Jason Braun, I've known for 15 years, and I didn't know who he was for 2 seconds. I'm like, who is that? Oh, it's Jason, because I look at a face and I remember faces. I don't remember names very good. So I had a lot of problems with that. I had problems with breathing because I'm a big fat guy and I have to take in a lot of air. And I had problems hearing people because it was muffled. And by the last day there, I was like, I can't hear you. Please take your mask off. I can't hear what you're saying because I got tired of trying to stick my head in there. By the way, due to an AC/DC concert in 1984, I always blame those about to rock. We salute you for my hearing loss because they were shooting
You're gonna lose your hearing. I mean,
for those about to rock, we salute you. Boom! These cans were all boom. So yes, but anyway, I couldn't hear good, but my theory has always been that when you come to somebody's house, if they ask you to take your shoes off, or if they tell you to wipe your shoes, or if they do this, if you want to go to their house, you obey their rules. And I wanted to go to Game Hole Con. Those are the rules. I did it. Now, if you don't want to go by someone else's rules, you don't go. And that's the best way to, whether bitch about it or cry or scream, whatever, just don't go. And that's the best way to show your dissatisfaction with it. And so that's my whole thing is I understood Alex had to do that because that was the policy there. And, I've read various statistics on masks. I mean, the biggest statistic seems to be that they do help, maybe not as much as you think they would, but they help somewhat, right? I mean, you're blocking some particles in there. I think because of the audience at GaryCon and because it's older and they're, I don't know what you'd say, more conservative, more traditional, whatever. I don't think this is going to go over well with a lot of people. I've already seen some pretty pointed discussions about I'm not going to GaryCon because there's no mask mandate in that county and I'm not wearing a mask. And
and here's the thing too. People were understanding with Game Hole because Game Hole was the initial plan with Game Hole was we're going to require immunization.
Right.
But no masks.
Sure.
But then the county said you have to be masked. Okay.
Yeah.
And
by the way, they pretty much threw it on in the last minute. It wasn't something like, you're definitely going to have masks. This was something the week before they said, by the way, we're going to require masks. Right. I know Alex was not necessarily happy about that, but that's just the way it was, right? I mean,
so now GaryCon was requiring immunizations and is now requiring masks on top of that. Now, Gen Con had been requiring immunizations until Indianapolis put it in a mask mandate and then said, all right, well, in that case, we're going to require immunization because you're going to be masked. We're not going to do both. So
but it's not just that, Eric. Also, and I think that's going to be the issue with all these conventions. There is no workable way Gen Con was going to check 39,000. Okay, so mister, you're next in line. Okay. Hey, let me blow this up a little bit. You have a line of 8,000 people. Yeah, you're okay. You can go through. Okay, next. Okay, let me see yours. You got yours on the phone too? Okay. Oh, your phone went off. Can you unlock it again? I mean, can you imagine the shit show of trying to check 39,000, 40,000 people? I mean, that's just this year. They usually have 65,000. This year they only had 35 to 40,000.
Show me your photo ID along with your card. Is that you? I mean,
you could do it I was there at the front desk of Game Hole when they were checking IDs. There was never a long line. It went very quickly because there wasn't that many people. We're talking a few thousand people. Right. But man, when you go to these big cons with, I know, like for instance, the Los Angeles Raiders have started checking IDs to go into and have to watch a football game. Okay. Look online and see what those guys do to check IDs because they're trying to get 100,000 people in that stadium. No, it's the most cursory glance you've ever seen in your entire life at anything. You could have a G.I. Joe venture club membership card, and they're just like, "Yeah, come on, we're not just show me a piece of paper.
You don't have the scar. What's that?
Show me a piece of paper. I don't have time. 100,000 people have to get in this stadium. We don't have time for that shit." So yeah, that's going to be the issue. Smaller cons can do this. Larger cons, like you said, Gen Con, there's no way they were going to be checking IDs. And I think, people, I mean, whether it works or not, I mean, people are going to be objecting if it's not something that's absolutely necessary. And speaking of my convention, North Texas RPG Con, we're not even allowed to check it because of Texas laws and Dallas County laws. We cannot demand you wear a mask. There's no mask mandates, and we cannot check your ID. There's absolute zero tolerance. Our governor has signed a law, executive order that says you cannot have mandates. So we couldn't, even if we wanted to. If we wanted to say, hey, we're gonna, we want everybody to be vaccinated and we want masks, we can't do it. We legally cannot do it in the state of Texas. So it's the opposite here that is up there. But I can understand if you're being told that you have to do this or that. But but Gary Con isn't. I just think it's going to bite them in the ass a little bit. I understand they want to keep people safe, but and honestly, this may be the only way they can have a con this year. They missed 2 cons. That's tough. I mean, the online experience is not the same. Yeah. No. And when Lou and I were at Game Hole, I mean, there was a lot of excited people there, Lou. I mean, people were so happy that people were spending money, and people were.
You can tell that was a lot of people's first con back.
Oh yeah, they were definitely going nuts, and so Gary Con cannot take the chance they're not going to have the convention again this year. They cannot take that chance. There's no way. Maybe we should have Luke on here and see if we can pin him down to something. Mm-hmm. Let's have Luke. Let's have Luke on. Let's see if Luke will come on and talk about that. I mean, because I'm sure. I mean, I hate to speak for Luke, but I'm sure it's the same consideration because they just cannot afford not to have a con this year.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much every con. Gary Con has missed 2 years. That's 2 years of no income.
And there's not very many cons that missed 2 years. They did it because they were absolutely horribly the worst possible time. Yeah, timing wise, it was the end of March in 2020 when all this stuff started happening. And so, of course, they missed 2020 like every other convention missed 2020. And then all of a sudden, 2021, things didn't get better till after that because then we had North Texas after. We were fine. All the COVID rates were dropping like crazy after April. So they were just terribly, terribly situated to not take advantage of having cons. And they need the money. I mean, it's obvious they need the money.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because like Total Con was the last convention I went to. The only convention I went to in 2020. And I think they were probably the last convention in 2020.
It was. Yeah, we talked about that. It was the last. Now, we had North Texas 2020, but we only had like maybe 60 or 80 people there.
Right.
And it was all locals except for Lou, who was insane enough to fly in and go to their con. But we told people to stay away. We didn't want, we don't want Alan Hammock dying at our convention or whatever because they get, they're older and get sick. So we told these guys, I remember, and I feel really bad. The one guy I really feel bad for is Steve Perrin, who wanted to come so bad. And Doug and I had to argue with him and said, you know what? We don't want you to get sick at our con. Of course, sadly, Steve passed away this year and he didn't get to come back, which really sucks because he was supposed to come back this year. He got sick right before the con this year, not of COVID, but just other issues. Right. And he never got to come back, and it blows. But we did not want him to get sick and die at our con. And he was just like, I really want to come, guys. I really want to. We're like, we just really don't want you to come because it's scary. We don't know what's going to happen. He's an older man. He had health problems. And so, I understand. And I guess Gary Con, there's a lot of older guests there. I mean, it skews older than Game Hole Con, obviously.
Right.
They have a lot of guys like Jim Ward and Tim Kask, and those guys all show up, and they're not spring chickens, right? I mean, not by any means. So, it's a decision everybody has to make themselves. But, if I had my druthers, I'd rather not wear the mask and deal with all that shit.
I will second that.
And we're just hoping that next year, it's looking like there might be a dip every year, right when it gets warm or summer. So North Texas might be perfectly positioned for the next few years to always have a con. At least
that's good. I never got con credit at North Texas.
I got con credit Gary Con one time. It was not it was terrible. It might be the same year you got con credit there. Maybe it was a different year. Maybe that's Zach I'm thinking of. We both got it one year. It was bad.
Well, I got my con credit at Total Con.
Total Con. Oh yeah, you got wiped. That was near death
Hospital visit, right?
Oh yeah, it was like, hey, let's go for the trifecta of hospitalizations in 2020. Knock on wood, and God bless. Much better year. So.
Yes, very much better.
For Gary Con, I've never been. The Hobby Shop Museum, is that on the actual grounds of the old TSR building, or is that a separate thing?
So the way it's set up, Lou, is Lake Geneva is a very small town. It's basically a tourist town. A lot of people come up there in the summer from Chicago and Illinois. They come up there because there's lakes there. It's really pretty. And so the main drag there, that's where the TSR headquarters was. That's where right off the street is the horticultural hall where they had the first 3 or 4 Gen Cons. It's just a small little town. I mean, you can go through the whole town in less than an hour. It's just a tiny little town. You go to the park, you can see where the little plaque is for Gary. You go to by Gary's house. It's people that own it now know that Gary was famous, and so they have tours or they run games there. You can see the property on Sheridan Springs. But it's all that's the same little area. Well, the Playboy Mansion, the Playboy Club is kind of outside town a little bit, not a lot. Right. But there's nothing else around it. I mean, you have to take a car to get there. You cannot walk there or, whatever. You have to take a car or shuttle or something there. And once you're there, there's nothing else there. You're there. There's some there's a few restaurants and stuff in there, but it's quite different than a lot of the cons because if you don't come there to go to the con, there's not a lot else to do there. Like I said, you tour the town in about 15 minutes. If you're gamer geeks like us, I mean, there's places to go eat there that we know about that are good, but there's just not a lot else to do there. So it's a lot different than say like Gamehole Con, which is set in Madison, Wisconsin, which is it's a college town. There's lots of stuff to do there. Or even North Texas, which is in DFW. There's tons of stuff. You can tell the wife and kids, get lost. I'll see you tomorrow. You can't do that in Lake Geneva. Lake Geneva is all about this one little area, and you're stuck in the Playboy Club or whatever, which is not that big. And we found out the last time we went, 2019, it got really crowded that year. There was over 3,000 people, and it got very crowded. It was clearly not meant for that many people. I mean, long waits at the restaurants, everything. It was a beatdown.
So I was just wondering, like, if Lanassa's group, when they do their convention, if you go and you want to go see the TSR building or the original Dungeon Hobby Shop, if you got to go through them or if their museum's a different site.
As long as you go, it's a different site. As long as you grab a car,
this is out of town. Yeah.
You can just drive over there.
Yeah, you'll need a ride.
And as small as it is, it's not going to take you 15 minutes to see the Hobby Shop Museum. I mean, that's just a little house. It's basically a house. It can fit about Doug and I guess Eddie went there. Eddie's here. Eddie, Doug, and Matt and a few other people went there a couple years ago, and it's not super big. I mean, it's got a couple rooms to game in, and that's it. It's just it's kind of a house that's been converted into a business. So yeah, it's Lanassa saying he's going to have a convention there caused me to roll my eyes because I can see a game day there. We have game days at the warehouse. Look, the warehouse is this room, 3 rooms this size. You can't go in the warehouse because it's too hot in the summer, too cold in the winter. We have game days here. I wouldn't call them conventions. We could probably fit 20 people in here, okay, but that's not a convention. That's a game day. And so that's probably what Lanassa and them are having. They're having game days there. Yeah, Eddie and them went there. Eddie and Matt, they went and toured the town and saw the plaque, and they went everywhere around there. So they got a car. Yeah, they got a car and everything. So and they're going to go again this year. They're going this year. So that I guess if you're there, look up Eddie and Matt. They will take you wherever you need to go.
Well, I would be driving in anyhow, but I don't know. Still on the fence. I gotta see what I can do with my day job here.
It's a fun, I would say everybody, it's kind of like one of those things you need to go once because it really is an interesting. It's a Gygax family reunion that we all get invited to, and they invite a lot of their friends, and it's a lot different vibe than Game Hole. Game Hole is more like just a regular convention. Game Hole is more like I said, a family reunion that you're having in it. I mean, when it's not super crowded, the Playboy Mansion place is really nice. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's old and decrepit, but it's kind of neat. It really is. It really is old and decrepit, isn't it, Eric?
Yeah,
it's not modernized in a lot of ways.
No, preserved in its 70s decor.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
The modernized are the little villas that are like like a quarter mile away on the same property. Those are modernized. I got to stay in that one year, and that was like, oh wow, okay, this is kind of cool. I have an electric fireplace. Well, I'm sure maybe it was gas. It might have been a gas fireplace. We had 2 floors. We had an upstairs for the bedroom and the shower, and we had a laundry. So that was
that's right. Yes. Yes, we're very popular. Yes, the laundry.
Yes, very popular.
It's based on a Frank Lloyd Wright. Frank Lloyd Wright didn't build it, but it's based on one of his designs. It's long. It's not like it's long. Like you're on one end. It's like half a mile to walk to the other end. It's not compacted where it's like tall. It's just long. It's spread out. So it's very weird. It's a lot different than most places you'll go to. But it's like I said, it's something that everybody should do at least one time because it is pretty cool to be hanging out there. And there's all the Gygax family, and there's and you have a lot of old school games. Paul Stormberg runs a whole room where it's just all these really old TSR guiding games like Chainmail. You can play Chainmail if you ever want to play Chainmail, stuff like that. It's very cool.
Well, we passed the witching hour. We've hit 2
We
hours.
have. We've given you your 2 hours worth, kids. We gave you your time. Now go give some more money to Eric so he can do whatever he needs, like he can paint his nipples green or whatever he's going to do next.
Hey. Listen, if you're going to go anywhere right now, here, I'm going to drop this in one last time for those. Luau's Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
Want to make sure
that
you give him some
definitely
good business.
Yes, and check out the Dare Luck Club. It's a really cool game with a great concept. Yeah. If you have kids, that's a great game to play with your kids, by the way, too. They would love it.
So, folks, just a reminder, live stream this coming Friday, I believe, with Joe Lawyer. Oh, is it? No, there's no live stream this Friday.
No, none.
We had 5 live streams. There's always last month was a 5 Friday month, so Glenn and I had our live stream last week. The 5th is my 10th wedding anniversary. There will be no live stream.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Woo-hoo. So, no live stream on Friday. However, there will be a live stream with Rich and I on Saturday, 8 p.m. Gamers Health. I will have my blue hair, and
nice.
We will give more details on the rest of the things I'll be doing because you wonderful people have donated at least $1,530 toward St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Thank you. God bless. I will willingly embarrass myself and play the fool for a good cause. So,
and then next week we should have. Next week we'll be going to LongCon, which is run by Eddie and Matt, and which is in Longview, Texas. And I will be flying up from a vacation at the beach. I know that's absolutely insane. And then I will be driving there with one Zach Glazer, who's going to fly into town and drive with me. So we should have Zach on the show next week, and we can talk to you about whatever, LongCon or Game Hole or whatever we talk about. We'll have Zach on. So we need to think of some questions to make Zach uncomfortable because he doesn't like to talk bad about people in the gaming industry because he's scared.
Oh no, only on a 1-to-1. He does not like to do.
Yeah, it's all behind you.
Yeah, he will talk shit.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Mike and I will talk shit publicly. So just you get what you pay for.
He's COO. He has to be careful. He's COO of Frog.
Yeah, he's a coup. You're the coup, I tell you.
We'll have Zach on next week, and then I don't know what we're doing past that. We got the whole month of November after that, so that'll be fun. We'll think of some fun stuff. But yes, Zach Glazer next week, and I'm hoping my American Airlines flight does not get canceled, and I make it back to Dallas. And
we will say prayers for you, Michael.
Yes, thank you very much.
As usual, we're in the midst of the world of COVID. We've discussed it when it comes to conventions and all that stuff. I'm not telling any of you what to do. I'm not saying get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. I happen to be vaccinated. My health risks, for me, it was no-brainer. But you know your situation better than anybody else.
I had to do it.
Talk with your medical professionals that you trust. Ignore the talking heads on TV. Ignore the talking heads on YouTube. Get an honest opinion. And take action to keep yourself, your family, your friends, your loved ones healthy and safe. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. And I'll be back tomorrow from New York. I'll be back in my normal virtual background, and God knows what I'll be talking about tomorrow. All right, folks.
Later.